I am Daniel Clemens, the HEMA Vtuber, and it is not going to surprise anybody when I say that I have a large collection of knives and daggers. I like knives and daggers to collect rather than swords because I think that a very nice knife is often the same price as a somewhat acceptable sword. I know I have higher standards for swords to collect, but I just like my knives. We're starting off today with my everyday carry knives. These are the sort of things that, I've just got on my person. I don't have three knives with me at all times, but when I do have a knife on me, it's one of these three. At the far left is the Cold Steel Spike. In the middle is a Cold Steel Mini Tack. And the right one is a BPS Techno Bee. I think the Techno Bee is, the prettiest of these three knives. But if I had to choose one to carry with me every day, that would be the Mini Tack. It's not as pretty as the other two, but it is so much more comfortable to hold. And that's what really matters when you've got a tool. These next two knives are sort of if I ever have to go camping or I'm ever in a situation where I need like a survival type knife. The topmost one is a Cold Steel Tonto. I picked this one because, in my opinion, if you've got a general knife collection, the Tonto is such a famous style of blade that your collection isn't complete until you've got one in it. That changes, of course, if you are collecting, a specific brand or a specific kind of knife. But in a general knife collection, I think you need a Tonto. The bottom one is a BPS. I think it's an HK4, but I'm not exactly sure. Just a BPS survival knife. I got this one because it kind of reminded me of the knife that Leon Kennedy has in Resident Evil 4. The original Resident Evil 4, not the remake, of course. And next up, we have a ski and do, or a pair of ski and do. I, wear these when I want to feel fancy and I'm wearing a kilt. So the leftmost one is a Sheffield Cutlery ski and do, and that is a deer antler handle that it has. I'm pretty sure that it's real, but if it was fake, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The black handled ski and do is a windlass steelcrafts. It's good. It's the best ski and do if you want a knife in your sock that is actually legitimately sharp. This isn't the sharpest knife in the collection, but you can make it sharp. It's um, high carbon steel, not stainless. I will say though, if you look at the sort of decoration on the sheath, how the windlass steelcraft ski and do has those little points on the metal, that always gets stuck in my sock whenever I wear it out. It's not a big deal, but it is a drawback that the other one doesn't have. Now, this is where they get exciting. This is a Todd Cutler 17th century Italian stiletto. It is a beautiful piece. And, if you ever watch other HEMA videos, whenever they mention a stiletto, this is almost always the stiletto that they pull out. Like, this is just such a beautiful piece. So, you know, affordable considering what it is. It is a great replica. It is the thing that I like about it the most. If you've seen my video critiquing the Assassin's Creed Hidden Blade, this stiletto is what an actual Renaissance era assassin would pull out to use. So this is the actual Hidden Blade. Or I guess I should say this is actually Ezio's Hidden Blade. These next two are sort of a pair, sort of a compare and contrast for what you want in a collection. So this first one is, again, another Todd Cutler. This is the Todd Cutler Quillian Dagger. And I would compare it to the Honshu Quillian Dagger. And if you look at this Honshu Dagger, you see that it's got sort of a snap lock, like a button that holds the dagger in its sheath. And that's not something that really was ever a part of a sheath until late 19th, early 20th century. Like they've got those on World War One knives, but I've never seen them on anything previous to that. So this is a really good knife if you aren't too concerned with historical accuracy. It does look awesome. It's got that black tactical feel to it. But, when it comes down to it, the sheath isn't real leather. That is a plastic hand grip, and the pommel undoes with an Allen key. It's not peened in there. Whereas the Todd Cutler one, that is real leather. It is a peened pommel, and it is a historically accurate leather string that you would tie around your belt to keep the dagger there. It's a little bit more expensive, and while you are paying for quality, the Honshu blade is, fairly good quality in and of itself. So what you're really, paying the extra money for is historical accuracy. Some people don't care about that. And that is just sort of the things you need to think of when you're in the middle of collecting stuff. Do you want to pay extra money to get more historically accurate? Or do you want something that is a nice blade, but, definitely not hand forged or anything like that? I think they're both good options. These are both really nice blades. Next up, this one's exciting. This is a Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife. These were used by the British Commandos in World War II. And this one is not a, actual World War II antique, but it was made by the same company, or one of the same companies that was supplying knives and daggers for the war. So it's hard to say that's not authentic when it's made by the same company using the same materials and the same techniques. The thing I like most about this is I am a huge James Bond fan, and this is the kind of knife that um, James Bond would have used back in the novels when they were coming out, when he was a you know British commander in the military. So I like to call this my spy knife. And here is my bollock dagger. Yeah, basically the only way you can get away with uploading your bollocks onto YouTube is in dagger form. Now, what I really like about this dagger in specific, this is a Todd Cutler low status bollock dagger, is that if you are, just throwing together a medieval costume for a Ren fair or something like that, you can use a, fairly cheap tunic, sweatpants, a belt around your waist, and this dagger hanging from the belt, and you've got a pretty good medieval outfit. It fits. It is the dagger I wear for any type of costume. And now we have the most important weapon in my collection. So this is a cold steel Scottish Dirk. Now I bet you're thinking, like, this does not seem like the sort of thing that would be the most important in somebody's collection. Well, when my wife and I were getting married, the heathen priest that was officiating for us suggested we do the whole, put your hand on this holy steel and say your vows type thing. And I remembered that the Scottish Dirk was something that the Highlanders, would swear vows and things like that on. A way I hear it put is, if the katana is the soul of the samurai, then the dirk is the soul of the Highlander. And they thought that there was a magic incantation when you spoke a vow on a dirk. And this dirk is the one that me and my wife said our vows on. And because of that, this is the, most important object that I own. Most people will never take off their wedding rings. I don't have a wedding ring. I have this dagger. If I ever became the Dark Lord and tried to take over Middle Earth, this is the thing that you would have to throw into Mount Doom to stop me. And that's it. Last is certainly not least when it comes to my Dagger collection. Thank you very much for listening. And please like and subscribe if you'd like to hear me geek out about more weapons in the future.